sportstalk.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Third day. The original members reunited for the 30th anniversary tour, playing all the hits. With special guest Zach Williams. Tickets available Friday, June 27th at AwakeningFoundation.com. Third day, the 30th anniversary tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks drifted after the Federal Reserve indicated it may cut interest rates twice this year, though it's far from certain about that. The S&P 500 ended basically flat. The Dow slipped 0.1%, and the Nasdaq Composite rose 0.1%. Treasury yields also wavered, but ultimately held relatively steady after Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the central bank is still waiting to see what the effects of tariffs will be on the economy before deciding its next moves on interest rates. The price of oil swung in its latest yo-yo moves amid fighting between Israel and Iran. The Dow was down 44 points to close at 42,171. The Nasdaq gained 25 to 19,546. The S&P 500 dropped 1 point to 5980. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear this evening, a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, it's a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 94. We do have a 30% chance of an afternoon downpour. For Friday, very similar, 92 to high, a mix of sunshine and clouds, and yep, a 30% chance of rain. It's the same for Saturday and Sunday, highs topping out around 94. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make The Point Radio.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Oh, you mighty Chanticleers, 26 in a row, and going to play for a national championship. Chants, what do you say about the Chants? And the job they did today, Chris Bergen, they left no doubt. They came out swinging the bats from the get, and they added to it, and Louisville didn't know what hit them. Goodbye, ACC. Sunbelt shines. Next up in their target, no matter who it is, SEC. It just means ass whooping from Coastal Carolina. What you think?
It may very well. These guys are incredible. And just watching today, I mean, typical Coastal, that first inning. You get a leadoff single from Caden Bodine, back-to-back hit by pitches, and then a base hit. It's 2-0. By the end of the first inning, it's 6-zip. And I almost wrote the story at that point in time because it was over. There was no shot that Louisville was coming back, and I can't hardly wait to chat with Jason Patterson to find out why in the world Dan McDonald threw a guy who has not pitched since May 17th. What in the world is Colton Hartman doing in that ball game with an ERA above 9 when he started the game? I don't understand their pitching situation at all. Not that it may not have mattered. But you can't run a guy out there in that important a ball game, win or go home, that hasn't pitched in over a month. Or basically a month. Yeah, over a month.
Well, it just shows you, and let's bring Jason in. Jason Patterson at the College World Series, live with us here tonight on Sports Talk from Omaha, as we appreciate his contributions to the program every night from the CWS. Welcome in. It might be the case, guys, and Jason, you can attack this, the fact that you're having to come up through the loser's bracket and you've just burned so much pitching, that's what you're down to.
Yeah, the arms you have left, they become few and far between at this point. And then we live in, and I'll leave it at this, a brand new landscape of college baseball in which those available to you may not always be everyone on your roster in terms of who can pitch and in terms of who you have, and I'll just leave it at that, available to pitch. A lot of conversations are out here regarding who they were going to throw, how they were going to line up the pitching. And the fact of the matter is, today is a reminder of just how difficult it is to come up through the elimination side of the bracket. Today is a reminder of what a position you're in when you're able to win the first two games out here and you're in the driver's seat. And I'm with you, Phil. I think you look at Louisville and the decisions they had to make today. Sometimes you think perhaps you can find gold by coming with a guy that maybe there's not as much information of late on, or an individual who you think, well, he's looked good to us in preparation to get back on the field in a certain moment. And when you're trying to piece it together with less than the full pieces of the puzzle that are in the box, you end up in a situation where sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I underscore your point that once you reach this point and you're Louisville, the number of arms you have to work with far more limited than the situation Coastal Carolina's in. And when the first move you make doesn't work out at the tune of a 6-run first inning, this is the end result. You just have to flip it, though, and tip your cap to Coastal Carolina again. I mean, here they are extending the winning streak. And the most amazing thing is you sit there and watch them inning after inning, at bat after at bat, is you just get the sense for this team, they don't understand what it means to take the foot off the accelerator. And the foot has been on the accelerator since the 22nd day of April, and it never lifts. And this time around, it's resulted in a championship series opportunity.
Yeah. Well, guys, Bergie, not everybody has a Michael Roth sitting back in the bullpen, kind of unheard of, that you can run out there in a clutch situation like the Gamecocks did with him back in the day and survive. And maybe that was the case here with Louisville.
When that works out, it's genius, right, Phil? We've got those guys we can point to who had not pitched in a while, or perhaps the ERA was high because they got knocked around at one time or another earlier in the campaign, and maybe they get something right with the arm, maybe they get something right with the command, maybe they find something with an additional element to their game, and the coaching staff knows something we don't, so they run that guy out there. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it doesn't. There was a lot of conversation about Forbes, what's his availability. There's so much that goes into trying to find something when you reach the point that Louisville reached. You got to remember, and you wonder how much this factored in, and Chris, to your point about their arms and Louisville, the 3-run ninth did not help yesterday. It made for an exciting finish for Louisville in the fact that they were able to come in and walk it off, but it did not help in terms of the momentum and the carryover. Yeah, you get all the energy from the walk-off, and yeah, the drama's wonderful, but the fact that they were tested a little bit there, the fact that the arms that they had to work with were much fewer having to work through the elimination side of the bracket shows itself again today. And we always ask that question, right? How much of it is what Louisville had left arms-wise, and how much of it is the momentum Coastal carries into the game? I tend to lean on the latter side of that conversation, that this is a Coastal team that almost doesn't matter right now who's in the other dugout or what jersey they're wearing. Coastal's going to play their game, and so far they've played it to perfection here in Omaha.
Jason Patterson with us. I own CWS out in Omaha, covering the World Series for us here on Sports Talk. And Jason, I get that point, and I'm like you. I think Coastal, quite frankly, and I told Phil this back on Monday, I don't think they're going to lose again. That's how well they're playing. But back to the pitching situation, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but was Patrick Forbes not available because he didn't want to pitch? Because I know a lot of Louisville fans, I saw, why in the world did they not start him? He pitched the Oregon State game to open up the World Series. He would have had 4 days rest. And you run out a guy whose last appearance was in May, the middle of May against Wake Forest. He went 1 inning. It's not like they were, as Phil pointed out, they weren't going to a Michael Roth. This is a kid that's not that talented, I don't think. And I just didn't understand Dan McDonald's thinking here.
Well, those are the conversations that happen on the backside of this, Chris. And that's why for the next several days, certainly in Louisville, Kentucky, and beyond, those will be the things that are kind of dug out of the rough, so to speak, because, so many things begin to fly around and you hear rumor and innuendo, and never do we want to pass any of that stuff along. But I do say this simply to kind of, to your point, and just to remind fans that it's a different landscape of college sports we're in now than we once were in terms of the number of voices and the variety of individuals that have input into these type of scenarios and decisions. And that is in no way me saying that Dan McDonald at the end of the day doesn't have the final decision, but it's a new landscape and all that must be considered. And, we often have the idea that not much of that carries over onto the decision-making field-wise and otherwise. but would be naive to believe that it doesn't all factor in. So you touched on and you've hit on and you've alluded to the big conversation that was taking place out here in the press box in Omaha, and that's something that Coach McDonald's the only guy, and the people in the room are the only people in a position to answer that. I'm never a guy who's going to speculate on anything, but in the new landscape of college sports, you have to consider from time to time and at times give coaches benefits of the doubt that, this is not the decision made in the world that we lived in 5, 10, 15 years ago. There's a whole new landscape that all these decisions are being made in this day and time.
All right.
It sort of gets overshadowed, excuse me, Phil. It sort of gets overshadowed because of the final outcome, but what was your takeaway from Riley Eichhoff's start today for Coastal and basically setting them up so they've got Morrison and Flukie to go this weekend?
So much talk about their pitching coming in, right? And then on days like today, it shifts to a conversation of how solid the offense is top to bottom. I'll say this about him. He did everything that he needed to do. When you can come out against a team that's trying to carry some momentum over from one day to the next, because let's face it, you come out of the elimination side of the bracket, and the bottom line of the whole conversation we just had is you're not going to have the arms to line up against the team that was able to use their couple of arms and stay rested and be in position to advance. So you have to ride some wave of momentum, catch some type of break, and he did his job in making sure that never happened. It never came to fruition for Louisville until you're, deeper into the contest, and it's not really, of consequence anymore because Coastal's pulled away to the point that their offense has won the day. I'm amazed at what this pitching staff continues to do. When they need to go out there, go toe-to-toe with you and allow nothing they can, when they can allow just a few and have the sense of what the offense is going to be able to do. Of course, it helps when you can look up and see a 6 spot before you go out there for the second time. I think every pitcher in America will take that. But he serviced his team well, and you said it best of all, Chris. What he was able to do was make sure everything behind him stays lined up so that whichever of these SEC teams they see over the course of the weekend, they're certainly in the best possible standing to attack it.
Tell you what, great position for them to be in. Give us a quick preview of tonight's game. Of course, we know pretty much all about LSU and Arkansas, but heck, let's talk about them again. What do you know about the pitching matchup tonight? What are you expecting?
Well, I asked you the first time we talked, I guess a week or so ago now, Phil, would it be oversimplification to talk about this side of the bracket as a 3-game series between Arkansas and LSU for the right to play for the national championship? And it turns out that was not an oversimplification of this side of the bracket. UCLA was in a tough spot after we talked last night. And the rarity of waking up in the morning and you're on the winner's side of the bracket, one win away from being in the driver's seat of your bracket, and before you lay down that night, you've lost 2 games back-to-back to SEC opponents, and you're packing the bags and heading back to the West Coast. That would have been tough on anybody, but it speaks to the strength of these two that did the work that needed to be done yesterday. LSU to snatch away that driver's seat spot, and Arkansas to come back and again. And, up until the 9th inning last night when Arkansas gave up some runs, you were talking about, a 19 potentially inning scoreless streak that they were going to be working heading into this game tonight. Now, that made the Arkansas fans sweat a bit the 9th inning, and it took the potential of that away, but they still went almost 2 full games with that staff not allowing a run, and you know what the offense can do. Aloy reminded us why he's the SEC Player of the Year with the way he performed in the game yesterday for Arkansas. So, hard to think this won't go to a 3rd game tomorrow night. I think the baseball fan in all of us certainly wants that. Not that you're pulling against LSU, but you just want to see this thing go as deep as it possibly can. I know folks there at home want to see this thing go as deep as it possibly can because you're making those teams on the other side use up as much as possible before they can get to Coastal Carolina. But you get in one of these SEC series, and that's really what this becomes now. Tonight and in essence the next couple of nights, we use the terminology all bets are off a lot, and that's the way this feels because it could really go either way. Arkansas has those power arms. Seems like everybody they run out there throws 97 or higher. LSU has things lined up a little better, and Jay Johnson seems on a mission. So, you could make a case for – it's not one of those where you go, yeah, we kind of think it's going to go this way. You can make a case for LSU being in the prime spot they weren't in 23 and saying, hey, this bracket's ours, this tournament's ours, let's take it over. And you can certainly see Arkansas forcing that game tonight. I'll say this, and you look at it from the Coastal Carolina perspective, which is obviously kind of the bent we have and the glasses we're looking at things through because of the excitement that is being generated there in the Palmetto State there at home. Here, if LSU comes through this thing, we talked a lot about the first game for Coastal Carolina. being against the Arizona team that they defeated to win the College World Series the last time around in 2016. You remember who the coach of that team was, don't you? It's Jay Johnson, who's trying to work his LSU Tigers into the championship series against this Coastal Carolina team again. So, you've got the potential of LSU's head coach going back against Coastal Carolina, or you've got the mid-major, as they're termed by most around the country, even though we know them to be the baseball power that they are, with a title against perhaps the premier power program out of the SEC that has never secured that title. So whichever way this goes, it's a heavyweight matchup with tremendously engaging storylines.
And we'll let you go because I know you get ready for the next game. In 2016, when Coastal Carolina got to the College World Series, who do they have to go through to get to Omaha? But LSU.
Yep.
So all kind of connections. Jason, fantastic, man. We appreciate you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Eye on CWS. That's from Jason Patterson. We'll see if there's baseball tomorrow. If LSU wins, there's no baseball tomorrow. If Arkansas wins, there is baseball tomorrow. So we'll talk with you one way or another just to get a feel for things. We thank you as always.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, much to keep an eye on. Always a pleasure. Y'all enjoy the baseball tonight.
Thank you, buddy. All right, Jason Patterson. And 11-3, that final score, 11-11-1 for Coastal, 3-10-0 for Louisville. Thorndike had 5 RBIs. Yes, there's an S at the end of RBIs. Some people don't know that, but they're not educated. 5 RBIs for Thorndike on 3 hits to lead the offense, and Eichhoff picks up the win, 5 1/3, allows 7 hits, 3 runs, and he is 7-2. And we'll be back.
This is Major Billy Downer with the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources. Boating season is right around the corner here in the Palmetto State. As you get ready for this spring and summer, make sure your registration sticker is up to date and you have a copy of your registration card on board your boat. For more information on boat registration and answers to common questions, visit dnr.sc.gov.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wow from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sport Media Network.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk on a Wednesday night. Appreciate Jason Patterson for being with us. Chad Holbrook at 7:05 will give us the coach's view of today's game with Coastal Carolina winning and moving to the championship series. 7:35 tonight. Great edition of SC Wild coming up with Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources. He'll be joined by Will Dillman, who's the new Deputy Director of the Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries section of DNR, and they're going to be talking about snakes and alligators, two of my favorite topics, snakes and alligators. I saw a video of an alligator walking along the beach at Huntington State Park. Huntington State Beach Park? Huntington State Park Beach, however they term it. And the alligator was, like, really big. It was just walking along the beach. I know who wouldn't be sitting there if he saw an alligator.
You are petrified by alligators.
Absolutely,
I've never seen anybody that is as afraid of alligators as you are.
Well, you just go watch some of the video what an alligator can do to you. All right? And tell me if you're if that doesn't send a chill up and down your spine.
I'm not afraid of them. I'm just smart enough to stay away from them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they can. What if you're sunbathing? What if you're sunbathing and, you know, I've got my back to the beach and I'm in my Speedo and I'm getting a few little rays here and I'm bronzing myself and all of a sudden I feel this nibble on my feet.
Are alligators, are they saltwater?
Obviously they can be. Yeah, they can be both.
Huh.
Yeah, they can live in both climates, I believe.
I don't think I've ever seen an alligator or heard of one at a beach.
Well, it happens.
Intercoastal, maybe.
And they're there. They are there. Mm-hmm. And they're there to eat you. Okay. And we got a lot to talk about recruiting-wise and some football conversation as well. In fact, want to toss this out as before we get to our phone calls, 888-898-2525, Bertie. Of course, it's talking season, it's BS season, it's hype season, but my gosh, I'm starting to think that South Carolina can win the national championship this year. I know we talked about some areas of concern, but, I mean, you got Lenora Sellers. Now, the experts are saying he's going to be like maybe top 3 or 4 pick in the draft, maybe the number 1 quarterback in the country. We're talking number 1 quarterback in the country, okay? And then we're talking about Dylan Stewart, best pass rusher in the country, fill in some spots around him. I mean, why not? Why not South Carolina winning the national championship in football? It's not foolish. I don't think it's foolish to talk about that possibility.
No, but I think we brought up the other night some clear areas of concern for a football team that wants to aspire to the heights that they are. I mean, you look at what Ohio State had last year. Let's use them as the template here as the defending national champions. I don't know that I saw very many holes in that football team. And they proved it throughout the playoffs. I mean, they were clearly the best team in the country because they played well on both sides. Mm-hmm. I think South Carolina, I'd feel much better, Phil, if the Gamecocks had their defense from last year coming back with Lenore Sellers this year. If they could replicate what they had last year to come back for this season, then I think they've got a legitimate shot. I mean, I saw a tweet today. They're ranking all the SEC quarterbacks, and guess who was number 1? Now, this is just one person's opinion, but he had Lenore Sellers at the top of the list.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to take this stuff with a grain of salt. It's one person's opinion, these rankings and these observations. I get it, but there seems to be a snowballing effect going on here. Maybe it's Gamecock fans, and of course we see so much of what is posted related to South Carolina and Clemson, and they just seem to – there's a lot of them out there who seem to feel like this South Carolina team can do it, and there seems to be national pundits who are jumping into that same boat. Now, a loss to Virginia Tech to open the season, which is entirely possible, would change that narrative in a hurry, though it wouldn't eliminate them from anything because you still got the SEC season to play. But if Lenore Sellers is all that, okay, if he's that much better than he was last year, and I was thinking about the receiving game, you know, it might not be they actually, you know, they've got 3 to start off with that you can pretty much count on, can't you? You got Harbor, you got Bennett. So those are 3 should be dependable receivers, and then you kind of fill in the blanks and build behind them. So, I mean, that's a pretty good start. I think the biggest concern, the biggest question mark is who's going to run the football besides the quarterback? You know, who's going to step up and be the ball hog there besides your quarterback? Or maybe you'll be just fine with Sellers doing everything, throwing the ball and running the ball. All right, the phone number, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Let's go ahead and jump to some phone calls. You can also shoot us a text message at 803-900-4847. It's Keith in Camden time. Hello, Mr. Keith. Welcome to Sports Talk. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I hope both of y'all are doing well. First, I'm going to comment. I think what year did you get out of Carolina?
Who, me?
Yeah.
That would have been, you really want me to date myself, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I got out in 80.
You got out when?
You got
out when?
1980.
Okay. Well, we're right there with each
close.
other.
We're close.
Yeah.
But my call was not for what y'all just talked about. 68 years old, and I've always told my kids if we ever were to win a national championship, I'd get a big old tattoo on me, being a Methodist minister, and they always tell me, "Well, Dad, you're safe. That'll never happen."
Yeah.
Look, running back, there's a lot of questions, and that's wishful thinking, but I would love it. But my call is about baseball, having coached Dixie Youth for 30 years, and kids are different than college and professionals, but always protected the pitchers and pitch count.
Mm-hmm.
I did not understand last night, and I don't know all the details, but I think sometimes this rest is over-calculated. Maybe there's something I missed why they didn't pitch the young man, but I just think that's just talked about too much when we get to that level of baseball. I could be wrong. I understand it when youth are developing, but come on, 4 days rest and you don't pitch him? Doesn't make sense to me, but Coastal is on quite a roll, and I keep being a naysayer, but it's hard to go against them. Look forward to seeing them play an SEC team.
Yeah, thank you very much. I love the way Coastal handles their business too, Bergie. It's like they're not shocked by what they're doing. They're shocking the world, but they're not shocked.
No, they're not surprised at all. They've been doing it for pretty much the entire year.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear this evening, a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, it's a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 94. We do have a 30% chance of an afternoon downpour. For Friday, very similar, 92 to high, a mix of sunshine and clouds, and yep, a 30% chance of rain. It's the same for Saturday and Sunday. Highs topping out around 94. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Security. With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Federal Reserve kept its key rate unchanged Wednesday as it waits for additional information on how tariffs and other potential disruptions will affect the economy this year. The Fed's policymakers signaled they still expect to cut rates twice this year, even as they also project that President Trump's import duties will push inflation higher. The Trump administration's decision to provide deportation officials with personal data, including the immigration status on millions of Medicaid enrollees, prompted two California U.S. senators on Wednesday to demand that the data sharing cease and for Homeland Security officials to destroy the records. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 44 points, the Nasdaq rose 25. More details at srnnews.com.
I bet you've heard us say this, you can't pick your power company. So how can you control your power bill? By partnering with Ken and his local team at Broker Solar. Ken, our power is not getting any cheaper.
So every year there's typically a rate increase that happens, and the utilities claim that they want to keep up with their operating costs. Now, Broker Solar allows you to take control of that cost, own your power, create it, store it, and then use it when you need it. There's special solar financing that would take advantage of the tax credits. You can have several options on how long you'd like to pay off your solar system and how quick the return could be.
No two homes are the same, so you work with homeowners, business owners to fit their needs based on how many solar panels they need and even where they want the panels to go. Most folks prefer it on the roof, but some don't.
We frequently get asked about solar on the ground or even on a separate solar structure like a carport or a lean-to that comes off the house.
Call Broker Solar. Call them now, 803-807-7417 or online, brokersolar.com.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Life is not a straight line. No matter how hard you try to stick to the path, sometimes you have to take a detour. Miss a turn or maybe even start over. Relax, we get it. Life happens, and your credit score shouldn't define your future. That's why Founders offers opportunity so you can pursue your financial goals. Not just for people with perfect credit scores, but for real people with real stories. At Founders, we know how to look beyond a credit score by listening, understanding, and believing in people and second chances. Because here, you're more than a number. You're a parent, a student, a dreamer, a doer whose story is still being written. When you're ready to pursue your next financial goal, stop by a Founders Federal Credit Union near you or visit foundersfcu.com/loans to see how we can build your next chapter together. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Experience South Carolina's printing powerhouse. Professional Printers is your trusted partner, bringing over 30 years of expertise in print and graphics. From digital printing to web and sheet-fed solutions, we handle it all with a team of over 100 dedicated professionals. Locally owned and operated, we have 2 locations in the Midlands and serve our customers with pride, ensuring top-notch service and quality in every project. We do it all, including storage and promotional products. Visit proprinters.com and elevate your printing experience with us.
Stop there, I swear. From the time I wake up to the time I lay down, it's the devil's playground everywhere that I look. Swear it's there in my blood. I was born to be lost. A lot of lines that I crossed, little more than I should. I'm losing me too. Pretty eyes and the proof. He knew what I meant.
Okay, we're back in Sports Talk Media Network. Great to have you with us tonight. Phone number 888-898-2525. Coastal Carolina already in the house with an 11-3 win over Louisville, so they can relax tomorrow and on Friday and get ready to play the first game of the championship series on Saturday. By Sunday, the Chanticleers could be the national champions for the second time within the last 10 years. That's pretty doggone impressive for Coastal Carolina. The championship series, barring weather interruption, will run Saturday, Sunday, and if necessary on Monday. I love how they've done that because they used to start the series on a Monday and drag you through the weekend. They've kind of tightened up the schedule a little bit, shortened it as best you can. But I was just thinking about this. My gosh, the media folks who are out there covering Coastal Carolina, now they are definitely looking at the earliest they could get out of town would be Monday, unless they had a late flight on Sunday. Let's assume Monday. But if they have to stay Monday, then you're talking about not getting out of town until Tuesday. You're talking about almost a 2-week stay in Omaha. I know the longest I had to stay there was 11 days back in 2012. I think that was an 11-day stay. So that's an expensive trip for those companies, or those operations who are out there, and I tip my cap to them for putting up the money and sending their people out there, because that's not cheap.
And I will double down on my prediction from Monday. They will win the national championship on Sunday. I don't care who comes out the other side.
Hey, listen, the whole world needs to know. Nobody else in America. There'll be a lot of people who will say, well, I knew they were going to win it. No. You said it. back, I want to say it was March or early April. You said it on this show. I wish we could go back and find the Plumber. Go back and find the audio. Come on,
I
man.
can't take all the credit. I can't take
No,
all the credit.
you said this team can win the national championship.
If,
and I said
if their pitching holds out, because
no, but
Joe
I
Katsu
recall you saying they have the pitching to win the national championship. There wasn't an if. You didn't have an if.
No.
I don't remember an if.
Well, and I just and like I said, I'd gotten intel. Joe Katz, who does the radio for Coastal, he and I talk clearly, obviously, all the time, and he told me, because he's plugged into the baseball team even more so than I am, and he saw him through fall ball and saw what the potential was, and knew, especially let's take a guy like Jacob Morrison, who was coming off Tommy John surgery. Nobody knew exactly how good he could be, but I think Joe and the coaching staff realized if he came back healthy, he could be this guy. And their frontline staff is as good as anybody's. And they were able to throw their number 3, if you will, today to get into the championship series. But Riley Eichhoff could start, would be I think a Saturday starter at Clemson, might be the Friday night guy at South Carolina, and he's the Sunday guy at Coastal, to give you an idea of how talented that staff is. And here's something interesting. Speaking of the Gamecocks, saw this today, Phil. I think there are 8 teams that have made the College World Series finals, now the championship series, in each of their first 2 years out there. Coastal, obviously, 2016 and now. South Carolina did it the first 2 times they went there, in 75 and 77.
Huh. I'm trying to remember if I went out there. I didn't go out there for either one of those, 75, 77. I was still in college, a little bit before my time. But that's an excellent point. Of course, back then, as everybody probably knows, it was a one-game winner-take-all for the national championship. And South Carolina, if my memory's right, the Gamecocks played Texas for the national championship and lost. And then one year played Arizona State for the national championship and lost. I think I'm right on that. Am I right? Then they played Texas again. In fact, they played Texas. It was the last year of the single game championship, and they played Texas and lost. I want to say the Gamecocks played 3 times and lost, if I'm not mistaken. I may have one time too many, but I want to say they played 3 times. And then they reeled off back to back and almost made it 3 in a row. And here's the other thing about Coastal. So Saturday night, you think they start Morrison or they start Flukie?
I think they'll stick with their typical rotation, what they've done. I think Flukie probably gets the ball Saturday.
Mm-hmm. Then the other question, I haven't looked at their roster. How much of this roster will return or can return next year? And do you think once it's all done, those who can return, many are going to be besieged by offers from other teams? What do you think?
I'm guessing a lot of those kids that are draft eligible, or in terms of the NIL pay-for-play money, I think Coastal's going to be fine because they found a way to fend off Caden Bodine suitors, and you can't tell me there weren't people in his ear all the time during last offseason into this year. I mean, look how talented he is. Kevin Snall will tell you he's the best catcher in the country. So they've been able to hold on to their top-flight players, and as Coach mentioned, I think in his pre-tournament, or at least the pre-College World Series presser, he talked about there was only one player that they've had that just jumped in the transfer portal and didn't talk to them about it beforehand. Not sure who that is. I don't think it would be Liam Doyle, but it might be interesting since he mentioned that player is no longer playing. Mm-hmm. I'm just curious if it might have been him. But nonetheless, I think in terms of resources, Coastal Baseball is in really good shape now. They're going to lose a lot of guys. I mean, Eichhoff's a senior, so I think he's done. You have to ask that anymore with regards to eligibility. Flukie, I think, is the only one off that pitching staff that could conceivably come back. They've got a lot of draft-eligible guys. Obviously, Caden Bodine's gone. Sebastian Alexander is going to be gone. Blake Barthel's probably gone, the second baseman and outfielder. So, I mean, they're going to lose a lot of key cogs off this team. But, this was, in terms of the roster makeup, this was a team that the Sun Belt looked at and says, you're just the 4th best team in our league. Now they're 2 wins away from a national championship, so
what a year, and 26 in a row. That is mind-boggling. We'll have more on this from Chad Holbrook coming up. We're going to hear from the Shots coming up after our next break as well. We've got recruiting. We'll talk about Landon Duckworth, who's going to visit South Carolina once again this weekend. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Dre Quinn, who's going to be announcing tomorrow for Clemson or Texas. Update you on all the other recruiting stuff. Let's go to Ron in Greenville for our next phone call here on Sports Talk. Ron, great to have you with us. How are you, sir?
Phil, I'm doing great. I hope you are.
Yes, sir.
Let me ask you a question. What's the name of the chapstick you use?
What's the name of the who?
The chapstick you put on your lips.
Oh, the It's called Kiss My Gamecock. That's what it's called. And it's
well, I was gonna say,
it's cherry flavored. It's cherry flavored Kiss My Gamecock.
Yeah.
You don't think they can win? You don't think they can win the national championship?
Phil, you blowing smoke up.
No, I am dead serious, Ron. I am dead serious. If I'm not serious, then Plummer is going to Harvard instead of South Carolina this fall. No, I'm dead serious.
He wants education. He could. Okay. Yeah, you blowing smoke up everybody's butt.
I don't think so. Tell me where we're wrong on the idea that South Carolina could win the national championship.
Well, I don't think they'll go about 7-5 in SEC. I think they'll lose to probably Alabama. Do they play Georgia?
No.
Of course not.
Not their choice. That's the decision of the SEC. You know, I'm sure they'd love to play Georgia.
I bet they would. Yeah, I bet Georgia would love to play them.
Mm-hmm. Think about this. I mean, listen. Who's going to have in any game they play this year? Who's going to have a better quarterback than South Carolina will have, based on what we are hearing and reading and what we know for a fact from what we saw last year? You run the gamut of the teams they're going to play. I mean, who's going to have the better quarterback? Klubnik? Would you take Klubnik over Sellers?
Oh, absolutely. I think Sellers is a joke. I think he can't throw the ball. You saw that last year. And he can run the ball, but I think teams will be ready for it this year. So I believe he'll be a washout.
Well, he's not going to be a washout, and he throws it better than you give him credit for.
Come on, man.
And he's getting better in his passing game. Yeah. Ron, you're looking at things with those orange britches too tight. You think Clemson's going to win the national championship? Is that your belief?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I believe Clemson will probably go 9-2, 9-3. South Carolina goes 7-5.
Who's going to beat Clemson?
There's some teams that are up there. Clemson's only favored by 2.5 points over SMU. They're only favored by 2.5 over South Carolina. Of course, they'll beat the Gamecocks. I'm not sure. I just figure 3 that way if somebody slips up on them.
Yeah. Okay, Ron. Thank you, man. Appreciate your opinion. As I look at this schedule, seriously, who does South Carolina play who will have the edge at quarterback? Certainly not Virginia Tech. And looking at the SEC schedule, I mean, Vanderbilt, I think South Carolina, even though the quarterback there is
No. Diego Pavia says they've got the Gamecock circle. They're going to run Tennessee. That's going to be Vandy State moving forward.
He's cashing some checks with his mouth. Missouri's got a change at quarterback. Kentucky the same. LSU does not. That might be the one. Now we'll see if Clemson beats him up a little bit, but I mean he'll have time to recover. But that might be the one. Oklahoma's got a change at quarterback. Alabama is going to have a new quarterback. Ole Miss will have a new quarterback. Texas A&M, I think their QB is back. I think the QB is back. Of course, Clemson's got Klubnik back. I tell you, if South Carolina can somehow the LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, well, all 4 of their road games are tough. They hardly ever play well at Missouri. LSU is LSU. Ole Miss is Ole Miss. And Texas A&M will be looking for revenge. I don't know. Can they go 2-2? Can they go 3-1? If they can go 2-2, 3-1, in those 4 games, then I'm fairly certain they're going to make the playoffs. If they go 1-3, I'm going to be a little bit more concerned for them. But I think a 2-2, a 3-1 split in the 4 SEC road games, I think they got a hell of a chance to make the playoffs. You make the playoffs, you got a chance to win it all, you know.
Marcel Reed, the kid at Texas A&M, he is, I think, back for them.
Yeah, he was he kind of took over that job. Yeah, he didn't start the year as their starter. I think he eventually kind of took it over, and he's a very dangerous quarterback, yeah.
And off of Ron's call, I think there's an unfair narrative about Lenore Sellers' passing ability. You look back at what he did last year. He threw for over 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns, 7 picks, had a quarterback efficiency of 152, and a completion percentage of 66. Now, I think there's obviously room for his improvement, but for Ron to come out and say he can't throw the ball, that's just not true. I mean, it's the facts don't follow that narrative. And I think, unfortunately, that has been a narrative that has followed Lenore Sellers because he runs it so well. And there's no question he does. But he can throw the football.
And I think he's getting better. I think
I would agree.
You know, people don't think he's a pure passer. They don't think he is your basic stand in the pocket and toss it around. But he can be. I think that Mike Shula's got to be careful in how he deals with Lenore Sellers. Develop him as a passer, want him to hang in the pocket longer and complete bigger passes down the field, but you cannot take the running aspect away from his game. It's too much a part of it. It's too dangerous it's too dangerous to the offense not to have that as a part of it. If defenses, if they come out and somehow try to make Lenore Sellers and they stay in the pocket quarterback, then you're really taking away a major option from your offense. I don't think they'll do that. I think they'll let him do what he does and take that risk. And he is smart enough to know how to get down and how to get out of bounds. And you just have to hope there's no freak injury that occurs when you're running around like that, like he does at quarterback. All right, we got to run to the break. We're going to hear from the Coastal Carolina guys. Do you have any bug spray in here? There is a gnat that is flying around in front of my computer that's driving me crazy. No? Shedeur Sanders, he's fast. Matter of fact, he was pulled over Tuesday morning for driving 101 miles an hour on a highway outside of Cleveland. So he's got to deal with that issue in a courtroom if he decides to try to get the ticket defeated. We'll be back.
When I grew up, I want to be a nurse. I want to be an engineer. I want to be a teacher.
There's never been a better time to start making their dreams come true. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to save for their future education. Contributions are tax deductible, earnings are tax free, and you can start saving right now with any amount. Go to futurescholar.com today to discover the smart, easy way to save for college. That's futurescholar.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Diamonds came from dirt. The more I love you, the less I hurt. And now my pen can't find the words. I wrote songs about sin and evil, women, pills, and cars. I wrote songs about drinking till you walked in and raised the bar. But who am I to write?
All right, it's going to be former Wofford pitcher Zach Cowan starting tonight for LSU. Been one of the best pitchers, both at Wofford and in the SEC since he made that transfer. He'll be going into tonight's game 3-3. I think most of his work has come out of the bullpen. He's 3-3 with an ERA of 3.09, 54 strikeouts in 46 2/3 innings. He's only walked 12. He's a very good pitcher. He was at Wofford before transferring to LSU. Arkansas starter will be Landon, how do we pronounce it?
Beidel-Shees.
Beidel-Shees, 4-0 with a 4.92 ERA. He's a left-hander. Lefty versus righty. 61 strikeouts in 56 2/3 innings. There you go, the pitching tonight for this one. And let's hear from Coastal there, Bergie.
Yes, after their 11-3 win, which punched their second consecutive trip to the championship series after going there in 2016 and winning it all, Chanticleers will get either LSU or Arkansas starting Saturday, but they beat up on Louisville today 11-3, and afterwards head coach Kevin Snall joined Colby Thorndike, Riley Eichhoff, and Walker Mitchell in the postgame. Here's what they had to say about the win.
As a leader, I think all great leaders are people that others want to emulate, and Dan McDonald is that guy, or is one of those guys for me. What he did as an assistant coach at Ole Miss, and then the last 19 years as the head coach at Louisville, he's probably one of the most successful head coaches in the country, somebody that I look up to. And to do what we did today versus that team, as well coached as that team is really amazing. You know, the Chanticleers are one of two teams in the entire country still playing. And it's incredible, but it's not unbelievable. It's incredible, but it's not unbelievable. And it's not unbelievable because we've got really good players. But the separator is these players are willing to drop I and me for we and us. And when you bring a group of people together with that mentality, this is what can happen. 25 straight now? 26 straight, 56 wins, school record, 176 hit by pitches, NCAA record broke today. Absolute selfless group that did unbelievable things this year. And another reason that we're in this position is because we have an athletic administration that backs our program at the highest level. And what I mean by that is they enabled us to hire an elite coaching staff that would rival any coaching staff in the entire country. They give us the resources to put our players in the best position to become the best players that they can be. And it's an absolute team effort. The last thing that I want to say is the reason that I'm in this position was our former athletic director, Matt Hogue. Back in 1999, I'll never forget the job he did for the recognition I received as a player. He continued to recognize me as a coach. And if it wasn't for him, obviously Coach Gilmore, I would never have been given this job. And I'm forever grateful for him.
Mark Garland, College Baseball Central. This one's for Colby and Walker. Another big first inning for you guys, and you guys just keep seeming to come up with hits in big situations for your team. Talk a little bit about that and the approach you guys have to just come up in those big situations.
Yes, well, we always preach scoring first, and anytime you have a chance to score first, you're going to get a bunch of momentum dumped in your dugout. And this time Walker made it easy on me. He didn't make me do it with no runs scored. He went ahead and got 2 runs in for me, so it made it a little easier. But we always preach when bases are loaded, the pressure's on the pitcher. It's not on the hitter. He's got to throw 3 strikes. If he throws 4 balls, then that's a run. So we always preach, pressure's on the pitcher. And when you stick to your approach and you believe that, it makes things easier.
Yeah, like he said, with where the pressure is. Coach Schilling says that to us all the time, and just being able to go up there with a slow heartbeat and get the job done for the boys, just.
Noah Beanick, 11.7. Question for Colby. You're on an incredible tear in the postseason, not just the NCAA tournament, but the Sun Belt Conference tournament as well. You've tallied at least 1 hit, 1 run scored in all but 2 NCAA tournament games. What's your approach like at the plate today? Walk me through the first inning at bat where, an incredible job getting a couple of RBIs across the plate, but, celebration also towards the dugout.
We're just, we practice, sticking to an approach. And I think a little bit early in the season, I didn't really have much of an approach, and I'll admit that. But once I figured out what approach worked for me and worked best, and I could stick to it. It makes things a lot easier. And that the celebration is something we've had since, I think, weekend one. We don't really know where it came from. We just kind of came up with it. So whenever we have a chance to do it, we're going to do it.
Kendall Rogers, D1 Baseball. Kevin, just I was kind of going back to reading Aaron's fall report on you guys. It did not sound like a team, at least from your perspective, that looked like a potential national championship contender at the end of the fall. What did you kind of see from this team in the fall, and what are you kind of seeing now that may be a little different?
Well, in the fall, we clearly felt like we were going to have a really good pitching staff. A couple guys were down in the fall, so we knew that they were coming back. But the truth was we just had to figure out. We lost 3 of our 4 top hitters from last year. We lost a Hall of Fame head coach. So we had to kind of figure out who was going to fill, those gaps. And those 3 guys that we lost offensively are tough to replace. Truth be told, Sebastian Alexander stepped up in a big way. I mean, he's got the tools to be a great player. We knew that all along, but he just never really put it together. Now he's batting our 2 hole, and he's done a big job for us to kind of fill some of those production that we had from last year. But I can't say that we felt it was a national championship contender. We knew it was a really good team. We knew it was a championship type team. We were picked 4th in the Sun Belt. No problem. We'll move forward, keep our head down, and keep grinding. And that's what this team did. But we clearly felt like this pitching staff was going to be the best pitching staff we ever had.
Noah Bieniek, 11.7. Coach, I was hoping if you could expand on what you said. It's not unbelievable. It's incredible. And for me, what I noticed is it's just a very consistent ball club. Everybody in that lineup got on base today. In the NCAA tournament, 8-0, you've nearly tripled your opponents in run differential in games. Can you just talk about that consistency?
Well, it starts with frees. Today we were able to earn 10 frees, 6 walks, 4 hit by pitches. That's where it starts. We've got to earn frees. I thought we ran the bases exceptionally well.
Comments from Coastal. We'll be back.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. President Trump says he doesn't want to carry out a U.S. strike on Iran, but he will if necessary. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Donald Trump has long denounced American military intervention around the world. When it comes to Iran, he's not itching to start a war, but says the U.S. stands ready to act.
I'm not looking to fight, but if it's a choice between fighting and him having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do.
The president is adamant about preventing Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapon and says he remains undecided about ordering a military strike. Greg Clugston, Washington.
A chicken pasta product is being recalled. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
A deadly food poisoning outbreak has been linked to Listeria bacteria in Heat and Eat chicken fettuccine Alfredo, sold at Kroger and Walmart. Food producer Fresh Realm is recalling varieties of market-side and home chef products made before June 17th. Federal health officials say 3 people died and at least 17 people have been sickened in 13 states in the outbreak that began in July of last year. Officials say they have not identified the specific source of the contamination. I'm Jennifer King.
The Supreme Court has upheld a 6-3 vote, a Tennessee ban on sex change operations and other treatments on children. Another 26 states have laws similar to Tennessee's. President Trump has also sought to block federal spending on puberty blockers and hormone treatments for those under age 19. Chief Justice John Roberts writes for a conservative majority, the law does not violate the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 44 points, the Nasdaq rose 25, the S&P declined 1. More at townhall.com.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month, but what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
U.S. contracting firms led by former American intelligence and military officers are taking on aid delivery in conflict zones. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports.
In Gaza, an American-led operation is distributing aid under an Israeli plan to replace the UN-led aid system there. In general, the American contractors say they're putting their security, logistics and intelligence skills to work in relief operations. Fogbow, the US company that carried out last week's airdrops over South Sudan, says it aims to be a humanitarian force. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
A jury has found Karen Reed not guilty of second-degree murder in the death of her Boston boyfriend, but guilty of a lesser charge of drunk driving. News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear this evening, a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, it's a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 94. We do have a 30% chance of an afternoon downpour. For Friday, very similar, 92 to high, a mix of sunshine and clouds, and yep, a 30% chance of rain. It's the same for Saturday and Sunday, highs topping out around 94. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make The Point
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, we're back. It is Sports Talk Media Network. It's Phil Kornblut. It is Chris Bergen. Chris Bergen. Somebody once mistakenly called him Chris Bergen. You did
Not
that
once.
You did that, Plumber.
No, it was the AI.
Times.
It was the AI. No, it was the Sports Talk Orchestra that did that.
And the plumber, Josh Coyne. Before we get the calls and recruiting, hopefully we'll have Chad Holbrook coming up in a little bit. And then we've got SC Wild coming your way at 7:35. We do have to have the freshman question of the night. You ready for the freshman question of the night?
Let's go for it.
For those who don't know, the plumber somehow managed to graduate from high school.
After 6 years.
Somehow managed to get accepted to the to one school. I think he applied it to about 50 schools, and one took him. That was South Carolina. How many did you apply to?
Probably 6.
Is that right?
No, 4.
Did you get into all of them?
Coastal, Charleston, USC, Presbyterian. I got big scholarships from everything except from USC.
Ah.
I went to USC. Going to USC.
So they're punishing you. By the way, now you're on your 4th roommate before you even get to college, right?
I think it's either 4th or 5th. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So here, and you were telling me your schedule. So you do have 8 a.m. classes.
All 8 a.m.s and no, nothing on Fridays.
So here he is. The freshman question of the night is, on average, on a given week, how many of those 8 a.m. classes will you either sleep through or arrive late for?
Ooh. Yeah. So I have 4 8 a.m.s Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Probably 3 out of the 4.
So you think that you will either arrive late or sleep through? Which
Yeah,
one?
Both.
Wow.
Wow. He won't be around there very long now,
Josh is
will
going
he,
to be
Bergie?
in summer school a good bit.
Why did you schedule 8 o'clock classes? That's just stupid.
He's a freshman, Phil. He didn't have a choice.
I did have a choice. I could have either done 8 a.m.s or like 4 p.m.s.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have
Oh,
worked.
yeah, you picked right.
Nah, not 8
Nobody
o'clock
wants
for
to
the
go to
corn.
class in the afternoon.
No, sir. Well, that's true. Nobody liked didn't like afternoon
No.
classes either.
Nope.
But I didn't like those 8 o'clock classes.
Yeah, how did you get to school? There's no way you got your entire allotment of credits in between 11 and 1 o'clock.
It's tough, man. You had to figure out how to beat the system. You had to beat the system. And I never went to summer school. I worked in the summer. Every summer I had a job.
How many absences did you have in your freshman year?
Oh, not many. I believed in going to class. I was there to get an education.
Oh.
Okay. You think I got to this point in life by not being educated? Back to the phones.
I had 2 alarms real quick. I had 2 alarms to get up and make sure I made my 8 o'clock classes. I had 1 clock alarm and then 1 suite mate alarm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stefan would knock on the door, open it up, and say, "Hey, you going to class?"
Was that Stefan Eggers?
It sure was.
From SportsTalkSC via Germany.
Indeed.
Yeah. He was supposed to be a program saver.
Mm-hmm.
He was all right.
Wasn't a bad player, but yeah, he was my second alarm.
Mm-hmm.
He'd always give me grief if I was not up in time to go to class.
All right, very quickly, we'll get to a few phone calls. Got recruiting coming up. We'll try and get all that in. Maybe leave a little time for Coach Holbrook, who might have a recruiting thing going on or a camp thing. He did tell me he would be able to join us, but obviously not yet. So with that being said, I do want to mention this. I'm sorry. This is a pretty big story. I just want to touch on it. It doesn't involve us, but the money here is mind-boggling, and that is that the Lakers are being sold to the ownership of the L.A. Dodgers, and that's got to make everybody concerned because Dodgers apparently just prints money. So
I didn't realize it was the Dodgers group.
Yeah, it is. I think I'm right on that. And the Lakers were purchased by Jerry Buss in 1979 for $67.5 million. The sale of this franchise now approximately $10 billion.
Seawell's Catering.
Okay, looks like we've got our internet service back up and running. Can you tell, are we going out to stations once again there, Plumber? Can you tell? Still not going out. But I'm getting internet service here. I'm seeing my laptop light up. So we're getting some sort of internet service back inside the studios. Hate when that happens. We apologize, but it happens. What can you do? When you're totally connected to the internet, you're at the mercy of the internet. And when the internet goes down, you go down with it. So once again, just to cap off before we get to recruiting, the Buss family is selling the Lakers to the Dodgers owner. This is Jenny Buss, reportedly will remain as governor of the Lakers, will remain as governor after the Lakers are sold to Mark Walter, leader of the group that owns the L.A. Dodgers. And again, it's for like $10 billion with a B. And I mean, as a Celtics fan and a Laker hater, I mean, my first thought is they're just going to spend money like crazy because that's what he did with the Dodgers. That's what he does with the Dodgers. That's what that group does with the Dodgers. They spend money like it's nobody's business, and the result is, well, you saw the Dodgers win it all last year. They're very good again this year. And so the Lakers will be in a position with this kind of money to go get whoever they want to get and probably won't care about anything related to the tax involved with being over the salary cap. I don't know how all that works in the NBA, but they're probably not going to care about it. By the way, the Yankees still haven't scored. They're losing tonight 1-0. I think they're on what? Is it 26 consecutive innings without scoring a run, or 29? It's getting really embarrassing as a Yankee fan. It's getting really embarrassing what this team is putting us through right now. Okay, on to recruiting, brought to you by the good folks over at Seawell's Food Caterers in Columbia. We encourage you to get out for the daily luncheon buffet at Seawell's every day, Tuesday through Friday, from 11 till 2 for only $14. Outstanding display of delicious eatery there at Seawell's. Do you have a menu?
I do. It looks like the person that does the menu was just out yesterday.
Oh.
But tomorrow they have Southern Fried Chicken as always, sliced beef brisket, sausages with peppers and onions, and that shrimp Alfredo. Friday's a roast beef Friday, so that's good.
Ah, really?
Yeah, roast beef Friday. It's fried fish nuggets and barbecue pork.
Okay. Huge Friday. Huge Friday at Seawell's. And, of course, you need the best in the catering business. You just call the folks at Seawell's, 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Lots to talk about in recruiting. Let's begin with Landon Duckworth, where it's been reported that he will make that visit to South Carolina this weekend. Hale McGranahan confirmed it from the Big Spur. And I'm trying to think who reported it out in California, where Duckworth is participating in the Elite 11 competition. It was reported out there as well, and Hale McGranahan of the Big Spur confirmed it from his end that Duckworth is going to make that visit to South Carolina. He went to Auburn last weekend. Those are his two finalists. He's been to them both officially as well. So he's just taking one more look. And, you know, there are those who believe he's going to Auburn. There are those who are in the boat that he's going to go to South Carolina and that the Gamecocks getting this last opportunity with him are going to seal the deal. That may very well be the case. Offensive tackle Ikene Oboko of Garner, North Carolina, who was a Clemson target at one time, he committed to Georgia today. Highly regarded wide receiver Samorian Wingo, 6'2", 175 of St. Augustine, will make his final official visit this weekend at South Carolina. He's also been to Miami and to Florida for official visits. Those three make up his finalists after also having Alabama and LSU on his short list. Shane Beamer, Mike Furry have made a strong push, and he's coming in to really continue to build the relationship, he said, with the coaches and the people all around just to have a good time. This won't be his first visit. He was in for the Texas A&M game last season, and he was impressed, of course, by what he saw that particular night. And he said the coaches, they like his size and his personality. That's the main thing. They love his playmaking skills. 71 catches, 1,119 yards, 14 touchdowns last season. He does not have a commitment date, but he's eyeing a decision in late July. And Gamecocks, who loaded up on receivers in the 25 class, do not have a receiver commitment in the 26 class. Miami is also without a receiver commitment, and Florida has 2. Tomorrow, defensive end Dre Quinn of Norcross and Buford, Georgia, will make his commitment announcement. It's Clemson or Texas. A lot of the national people have been pointing at Texas. He's coming off an official visit to Texas. So a lot of people are projecting him to Texas. However, Paul Strelo of Tiger Illustrated, if you read Paul, he likes to sometimes provide his readers with information in riddle-like fashion, kind of leave you thinking about what is he really saying. Anyway, from what he wrote today, from his contacts, I believe that he believes Clemson's going to surprise people and get Dre Quinn. That's just what I take from what he wrote, because that's kind of what he wrote. Don't be surprised. That's not how he wrote it, but I took it as don't be surprised if it ends up being Clemson for Dre Quinn. Joey O'Brien, safety, is also announcing on Friday. He's a Clemson target, coming off a visit to Notre Dame, and Notre Dame might be the place for him. Clemson target linebacker Tyler Atkinson going to Texas this weekend. Should be his last official. He's been to Clemson, he's been to Oregon, he's been to Georgia. South Carolina target cornerback Kerry Adams, being projected now to Notre Dame. He visited there last weekend. He's scheduled for Oregon this weekend. He is scheduled to announce on June 26th. Of course, he made a visit to South Carolina. South Carolina offered 2027 tight end Judah Lancaster, 6'5", 230 of Avondale, Arizona. Of course, he might pronounce it, Bergie, Lancaster, which, of course, in South Carolina would be incorrect, as it's Lancaster, South Carolina. If he were to come to South Carolina and become an all-time great, he'd already have a town named after him.
This is true. Is he from up north? Because that's how they pronounce it up there.
He's from Arizona.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. South Carolina target, 27, quarterback Trent Seaborn of Alabaster, Alabama, going to Miami this weekend. 2028 Daniel quarterback Chase Grass, offered by SMU, and his teammate, wide receiver Trey Wembley, also in the 28 class, 6'1", 175, offered by Ole Miss and SMU. Both of their dads work at Clemson. Basketball, 6'9", Justin Caldwell, Fayetteville, North Carolina, was in Columbia Tuesday, unofficial visit before he left. Lamont Paris, Eddie Shannon, they offered him for the Gamecocks. They've been watching him over the summer. Shannon in particular, he got a chance to meet up with Paris, tour the facilities, have lunch, watch them practice. They told him he reminds them of Colin Murray Boyles, those kind of skills. 6'9", who can handle. He can play with his back to the basket. He can also face up. 21 points, 10 rebounds per game last season. He has also been to NC State, and the Wolfpack offered him on his visit. He's going to Georgetown June 30th. He also plans to visit Maryland. And last season, he made stops at Iowa, Ohio State, Tennessee, Charlotte, High Point, and East Carolina. He also has offers from Seton Hall, Xavier, Maryland, Georgetown, VCU, Villanova, TCU, Memphis, Ohio State, Iowa, Mississippi State, East Carolina, and Charlotte. Former Clemson left-hander Ethan Darden committed to Texas A&M. And former Clemson and South Carolina second baseman Nolan Naraki committed to Tulane. And that's what we've got for you in recruiting right now here tonight on Sports Talk. Check it out on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, on our Twitter at SC Sports Now. SC Sports Now. Everything back and up and running?
Yes, and we have Bergie on board.
Hey.
Yeah, I heard
that was
early.
weird.
Oh.
Yeah. How about station feed going out?
Stations are going out. Or we're going out 2 stations. And we have callers. And
it was weird, too. You guys were frozen on the StreamYard. Good pictures
everything
of
just,
you guys in
went
freeze mode.
Poosh. Everything just went poosh. All right, very quickly, let's try and hit and we got our breaks in. We got those in. Okay, Plumber. All right, back to the phones. We appreciate your patience. 888-898-2525 is the numero to reach us on. Andy in Columbia. Next up, Andy, welcome in. How are you?
Hello there, Corn. Hello there, Chris. First of all, Corn, if an alligator sees you on the beach in a Speedo, it would not have the appetite to eat you.
You know what? Any alligator looking at my backside would start to foam at the mouth. It'd be so excited.
Yeah, foam from getting sick. Okay, first off, I was going to mention the Laker thing before you mentioned it, but you didn't mention that they're only selling 85% of it. So,
well, I mean, that's majority. That's vast majority.
Yeah, that's the majority, and I still can't believe they're leaving Jeannie as the governor.
Yeah,
governess, whatever you want to call her.
Yeah,
she's going to call the shots at the whatever. But you also didn't mention the other sale. The Devil Rays are being, the Rays
I mentioned that.
Sold for you did 1.7, and they were bought for $200 million.
Yeah, that was another nice profit.
That's not a bad thing. But the question is, are they going to stay in Tampa, or are they going to end up in Orlando, or maybe Jacksonville, where the main man who's buying it is a home builder, made all his money in Jacksonville building homes.
Yeah, it's a good question.
The jumbo shrimp out there.
The jumbo shrimp
might need a new home.
Well, I'll tell you, the Major League Baseball, the commissioner and other owners were pressuring the current owner to sell the team for they did whatever reason. They didn't like him or like how he was managing the team or just what, but they were pushing for him to sell. So he sold it, and he's walking away with a very nice profit.
Yeah, but the thing is, didn't he make a deal for building a new stadium in their new entertainment area? And then they kind of came around and messed with him with the money amount or what he was going to actually pay for it and stuff like that, because there was a deal for him to build a new stadium. And then, he's got a stadium now that has the roof blown off of it, so he's playing in a minor league stadium.
That's right.
Not as bad as what the Sacramento A's are playing in, but still, he's playing in a minor league stadium.
That's correct. Well, I mean, he's playing at Steinbrenner Field, which they dressed it up very nicely, but it is a minor league park. I think they can get 11 or 12,000 in there if they pack it.
Well, have you seen any games from the Sacramento A's?
Just a couple of highlights. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
The Mets went out there, and it's a joke. And the first, I think, few teams that went out there, they couldn't even hook up the internet for them to be able to broadcast the games for the away teams.
Yeah, that's not good. You would expect for Major League Baseball to at least give you everything you need to operate properly, considering they were putting you in a second-rate or even third-rate stadium to play in.
Yeah, I would say third-rate's being nice about it.
Yeah.
It's almost to the level of the old Capital City ballpark, if you ask me. It's not, the grounds aren't that great. It's very, 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 very small.
Yeah.
Very small.
Yeah.
Very small. I mean, probably Founders Park's probably bigger than it, I would think.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't gotten a bird's eye view of it to kind of look down and see. I mean,
your Yankees haven't played out there yet?
I don't think they've played in that park yet. Not that I can.
Oh, okay.
I know they've been out. They've played the Angels out there. They played the Dodgers out there. I don't know if they've played the A's at this point. All right, we got to run. Thank you so much.
Okay, y'all have a good night, fellas.
Appreciate it. Okay, stand by. We got SC Wild coming up with Major Billy Downer. He's got a special guest coming up as well. Going to talk about Bergie's favorite critter, the alligators, and the snakes.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear this evening, a low temperature dipping down to 73. Tomorrow, it's a blend of sunshine and clouds to go with a high temperature of 94. We do have a 30% chance of an afternoon downpour. For Friday, very similar, 92 to high, a mix of sunshine and clouds, and yep, a 30% chance of rain. It's the same for Saturday and Sunday, highs topping out around 94. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Are you ready to have a boatload of fun this spring? Sail on down to your local Palmetto State Armory store and deck yourself out in our new lifestyle t-shirts, hats, and fishing shirts. Seize the day with brands like Hey Dudes, Costa, Turtle Box, Local Boy, and more. Our selection of rifles, pistols, and shotguns is sure to impress. So don't be left fishing for something to wear once the warmer weather has arrived. Check out one of our 9 retail locations or PalmettoStateArmory.com to outfit your next adventure.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The State Department says it's restarting the process for foreigners to apply for student visas, but says all applicants must have their social media accounts set to public to allow review by officials. The department says consular officers will be looking for activity posts and messages that could be deemed hostile to the U.S., its government, culture, institutions, or founding principles. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has told senators that the Pentagon is providing options to President Trump as he decides his next steps on Iran. He would not say whether the military was planning to assist with Israeli strikes. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 44 points, the Nasdaq rose 25, the S&P declined 1. More details at srnnews.com.
When your pipes panic, Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning steps right in, fast and friendly. Josh and his team aren't just fixing leaks, they're restoring your peace of mind. This is when you're at your most vulnerable. You got a problem, you need a solution. They're not coming out to upsell you or talk you into something new this or new that. You'll appreciate their process. They'll tell you what needs to get done and what it'll cost before they ever even bring in their tools to start the work. They're locally owned, which unfortunately is no longer the norm in the Midlands. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning will treat every home like their own. They've done work for me, for my brother, countless numbers of Point listeners. Dial 799-2222 or visit franklinplumbing.sc.com and you tell them Kev from The Point sent you. You will experience plumbing that's more than just a fix. It's a solution from people who care about their work and stand by it. When you need them, please don't panic. Just call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, 799-2222.
Have you had a broken windshield complement to those South Carolina roads? The insurance company might try to steer you one way, to the big national guy. But remember, it's your choice. Go local. Call Absolute Glass.
We can repair your car back to factory specifications, including recalibrating all of your safety systems. We do great work and have been building long-lasting relationships for over 20 years.
That's why we've been voted Best Glass Company in Lexington for 15 straight years. Visit us online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com or call us at 951-7200. And remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Hey y'all, it's Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We're introducing our new healthy gluten-free menu. For your choices, we offer charbroiled certified Angus ribeye steak, juicy marinated grilled chicken dinner, fresh grilled salmon, authentic Greek salad, hamburger steak with grilled onions and melted cheese, shish kebab with grilled chicken, veggie blue plate with a choice of 4 vegetable selections, spring chicken salad, and of course, our famous slow roasted pot roast. Come and enjoy a healthy gluten-free menu at Flight Deck Restaurant. We at Flight Deck Restaurant, thank you, and God bless.
If you've never had genuine Wagyu or here for steaks and burgers, you don't know what you're missing. Time to order the best of the best from HandJCattle.com. These are local farmers in Saluda where tradition meets quality. The best quality beef and a discount for Point listeners. Enter keyword The Point as one word and get 10% off, plus free delivery in Lexington and Richland County orders of $50 or more. It's cooked in season over at HandJCattle.com.
This is Fran Halloran, the Money Coach. Grow with The Point as we build on 10 incredible years of community local radio. We've built an environment where our listeners are our family. Are you a small business with big dreams? Join the tremendous stable of advertising partners at The Point. Connect with Kevin Cohen and brainstorm a tailored strategy to escalate your business growth using the powerful platform of The Point. Call Kev directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, you can make the next year your best year.
It's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to answer your questions about the great outdoors. Call in now at 888-898-2525 and join SC Wild on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Okay, it's a hot Wednesday here in South Carolina, but a great time to be outdoors doing something, boating, fishing, maybe a little hunting, maybe chasing alligators on the beach. Talked about the one I saw, the video of an alligator on Huntington Beach State Park. Yeah, that's kind of a scary little critter. Wouldn't want to be sunbathing out there and have an alligator come sniffing around my toes. That is part of the topic tonight with Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources. Not about me sunbathing on the beach, but about alligators and snakes and other things like that. We welcome in Major Downer to another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. I'm mobile tonight, so I may be not as clear as normal, but yes, it is great to be here, and it is hot. Holy cow, is it hot. Welcome to South Carolina and 90 degrees plus 110% humidity.
Absolutely. How does the world outdoors in South Carolina change when it gets hot like this?
Well, first of all, you avoid it. Every opportunity, you try to avoid it. This is when boating becomes real popular, and people want to keep moving to get the wind moving. So it's typically a little cooler on the water. But when it stays hot like this for a number of days, the water gets hot, and it's just not as conducive for swimming. So you want to get in the boat, you want to ride around. You may dip for a minute, get wet, get back in the boat and ride and let that wind cool you off. So boating is definitely up. People are going to the lake during the week now. It's not just a weekend activity. A lot of lake goers are going to houses and spending time on the coast and spending time in the boat, which, by the way, I will report that I did go to the coast last week, enjoyed some time in the Hilton Head area, and experienced some more fun boating that we'll talk about another time. I learned another lesson after my 27 and a half years of boating experience with this great department. I still made a mistake.
Oh,
and
I want to hear all about that.
Paid for it.
I
ran out of gas. I'll just go ahead and be honest.
Oh my gosh, not you!
Brand new boat, just a fuel gauge. Obviously I need to get it fixed. They said I had a half a tank, and we did not. We were out of gas.
Well, what'd you do?
Lucky I was near the marina and was able to get the marina to come bring me a 3-gallon can. But it's okay. It's great. It gets better. I'm in the basically the entrance channel to go to the marina, and this big head boat, which is a boat with a bunch of people on it, is leaving out. Mm-hmm. And the guy slows down long enough to look at me and go, "Hey man, don't be ignorant. You're in our throughway." I went, check. I got that. I'm out of gas.
Oh, so anyway, was he being a little smart mouthy to you?
He was, but I did not say anything. But you know what? You're right. I am ignorant because I'm out of gas.
That's great.
So,
hey, you know what? The lesson to me from that is, if it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody.
Anybody, and it's because my gauge isn't showing right, and I trusted the gauge. And I told my daughter 100 times growing up in that car, I said, "Don't you trust that gauge? You make sure you put gas in that car."
Mm-hmm.
And know what it'll do. Just because it ain't below the E doesn't mean you got an ounce left. Anyway,
that's fun. We have your guest standing by the way, Major. Your guest is standing by.
Let's get Will Dillman on here. Will's been on before. I want to thank him for joining us. Will Dillman is the new deputy. He is over Wildlife and Freshwater Fisheries, new deputy director. Just got started today. His first day back in the office. So, Will, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to be here.
And since we're on two phones, I'm going to have to get in time to talk and get out. But, Will, we're talking about alligators tonight. I know You and I had this conversation a few weeks back, and alligators are part of our environment. They're part of the landscape, becoming probably a little more concerning in recent years. That when I started the show, Phil, or you remember me telling you, never had someone killed by an alligator. Well, that's not true anymore. Wish it was, but it's not. So the word to the wise that you will hear me or will any of our staff say to you is, alligators typically don't do these things, but sometimes they will. Now, it's you can't say they don't. Their behavior typically is a natural fear of humans. However, too many people in this state are feeding alligators, doing the things we talked about, throwing crackers to them, throwing fish chunks, whatever, off the dock, cleaning fish on the dock, and alligators show up. And even if that's not the case, there's some behavior now, just because we interact with them. There's so many people moving to the low country, and we have people that are getting bit on land by alligators. It's happened, but typically not their normal behavior. But people just need to be aware when they're around the water's edge where alligators are present, and look. If you see an alligator, don't go walk toward him. Give him his space. It's just one of those things. Shaking bags, making lots of noise, little noises that may sound like, or shaking a bag of mulch, or messing with a pump by the water and splashing with your hands or with the pump, which happened a few years back. We had a man got killed by an alligator. Those kind of things attract them to the water's edge. It's just using your head, thinking, giving them their space. Will, you got any more comments on that? Any thoughts?
No, I think you hit everything really well. We do have a huge number of people that are moving to this state, that some of them are experiencing alligators for the first time. And we're really trying to make sure people are aware anytime you're in the coastal plain of South Carolina, anywhere there's water, there's potential for alligators to be there. We want people to be safe and enjoy the water, but be aware that alligators may be there. And like Major Downer had said, the worst thing people can do is be either intentionally feeding alligators or inadvertently feeding them by doing things like, feeding ducks, feeding turtles, cleaning fish at the water's edge or on a boat dock and throwing guts in the water and getting alligators too used to being around people. When alligators lose their fear of people, that's really when we start to run into some problems.
That's right. And it's not a size thing anymore. I used to make comments about size. 8-footers and above are your problem. Well, that's not the case every time. We've had smaller ones now that you have problems with. So you just got to be wary of them. And I will tell you this, as far as dogs, I had somebody a long time ago, tastes like chicken, and that is true. A dog is a different animal. An alligator sees a dog, they will come try to eat it. They will come try to bite it, even if it's a big lab. I've had to learn that myself. A lab in the water, remember, the head's what's in the water. A 4 or 5 foot alligator sees that head, they think it's something they can go get. And even if they couldn't kill your dog, I don't want one biting my dog or your dog. So again, being aware, if alligators are in the pond, don't throw dummies for your dog. Don't throw balls for your dog in the water. There are ways. People ask, well, what happens? What do we do with alligators? Well, we have a removal process for private ponds where landowners can receive permits and tags to do that on their own. We have a big lands management program, alligator lands program, where if you have lots of land, we have management tags there. And then, of course, we have the alligator season, which we're trying to liberalize a little bit more and add a little bit more opportunity there. Will, you want to speak about that real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. We just opened the public alligator lottery back on June 1st. It's going to be open through July 15th. This year, for the first time, we're adding an additional 400 slot tags to our traditional lottery. These will be additional opportunities for folks that are interested in going out and participating in alligator hunting, and they may be willing to try to harvest a little bit smaller of an alligator. So the slot tag will be good for alligators between 4 and 8 feet. You will be a little bit more limited on the gear you can use to harvest those alligators, but we think it'll be a good way to get more people out there, get them participating, provide some additional opportunities, and help us try to get a little better handle on controlling some of the smaller alligators in the population.
Absolutely. So, like hunting, which this is hunting, it is the only the method we have available to control alligators is to remove them. And so hunting is a great opportunity. We've got a really good following on that. I think our draw now, it's so popular, it takes 3 years to get drawn. I've heard.
Absolutely.
I think. Will, is that correct? I think it's right.
Yeah, it's usually, between 3 and 4 preference points when people start to get drawn. We're hoping that people will be taking advantage of some of these slot tag opportunities. We believe people will be able to get drawn for those with a smaller number of points. It's one of our most popular lotteries. We have had thousands and thousands of applicants every year. There's a lot of interest in it, and we are just looking for ways to provide some more opportunities for people. And again, it is a tool that allows us to manage the population of alligators we have in this state. We have some big alligators. We certainly have people that are interested in harvesting big alligators. It's really kind of a trophy resource here in South Carolina, so we want to make sure we can provide good opportunities for people and not inadvertently cause harm to some of these larger alligators and deplete them too quickly, because they take a really long time to grow to over 10 feet. So we are looking for ways to provide some more opportunity.
And when we say long time, we mean like 20 to 40 years.
Absolutely, yeah. We're talking decades and decades.
Decades, exactly. A gator that's 13 feet long may be over 50 years old, 40, 50 years old, literally. They can live a long time. So Will, I want to let it out of the bag a little bit. Will has always been a reptile man. He's what we call in the science or biology world a herpetologist. Phil, do you know what that is? Phil, do you know what that is?
I couldn't even begin to try to spell it. It sounds like you got to be really smart.
It's not herpes. It's herpetologist.
Okay.
Anything that's ologist is very smart.
Means
very smart.
That's right. Way out of my league, sir. Though I do consider myself a sportsologist, Major. A sportsologist is a pretty smart guy.
That is arguable, but yes, it is. You're right. You're right. There are many that would probably join that argument line, but yes, a herpetologist studies reptiles. So Will is my resident expert.
Yeah.
And we've gone on some expeditions together to handle some really nasty situations, but Will is a guy that loves snakes. Somebody needs to.
Can I ask him one? Can I ask him one question?
Sure.
Why in the world do you love snakes?
That's a great question. I don't really know. It's something I've been interested in since I was a kid. My mother was a middle school science teacher, and one of the highlights of my year as a kid was every year the snake man would come to her classroom, and she would let me get out of school and come to her classroom and get to see the snake man. And I think that's just something that rubbed off on me and sort of set me on this path of appreciation for natural resources and the outdoors.
Well, let me say this. When I walked in Will's office for the first time, it's a little unnerving because I'm one of those guys that does not like to look at a close-up picture of a snake, and he's got things like, what was the one on the wall? Was it a gaboon viper, Will, or what was it?
Yeah, there were a few. There's some rattlesnakes on there, some Gila monsters and stuff. But my office has definitely got some of the stuff that my wife doesn't want put on the walls of the house.
Yeah. So, but Will's very knowledgeable. So if anybody calls and have a question about snakes, today's a great day to do that. He just really knowledgeable. But Will, I thought we'd talk about this. It's warm. Sure. It's very hot now. So snakes are active, particularly in this snake. I'm not going to make the stupid mistake of saying poisonous. Venomous snakes are active as well as non-venomous snakes. I'm a chicken grower, so I can't stand the chicken snake, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But they have a purpose. But venomous snakes, in this state, we have, is it 5 species, Will?
Yeah, we've got 6 species. So in total in the state, we have 38 species of snakes. 6 of those are venomous. And so we have the coral snake, and then we have 5 pit vipers. We have 3 rattlesnakes, both the world's largest and the world's smallest. We have eastern diamondback rattlesnake, largest rattlesnake in the world, pygmy rattlesnake, smallest rattlesnake, and we also have the timber or canebrake rattlesnake. And then, of course, we have both the copperhead and the cottonmouth or water moccasin.
And out of all those snakes, Will, because everybody's going to want to know this question, I've asked you myself, which one's the most nippy?
Sure.
The most inclined to bite.
Yeah, a lot of our non-venomous snakes are very nippy. Certainly some of the common ones we see, black racers, super nippy. If we're talking about the venomous reptiles, our most common venomous reptile is the copperhead, and I think by far and away that is the one that's the most nippy and prone to bite people.
I always thought it's funny. I asked, Will, how about copperheads? Yeah, they're a little bit nippy. I don't particularly care for those. I thought, all right, well. So rattlesnakes, of course, have the ability. They rattle. They have, and we'll give a quick description on that for folks that don't understand. How do they gain their rattles, and how many times a year do they shed? Because that's a misnomer sometimes.
Yeah. So when rattlesnakes are born, and rattlesnakes give live birth, so they don't hatch from an egg. They're born, and when they're born, they have what's called a pre-button. And it's basically just a little nub on the end of their tail. And then every time that snake sheds its skin, it adds a rattle segment to the end of its tail. And so it's adding a rattle every time it sheds. And typically when they're small, they're going to be shedding much more frequently, many times a year, 3, 4, 5, 6 times a year if they're growing well. As they get bigger and bigger, they have less of a need to shed their skin. It's either growth or the skin begins to get damaged, so they may only be shedding a couple times in a year. So unfortunately, there's no real way to tell exactly how old a snake is by how many rattles it has. You can't tell how many times it's shed its skin, and the rattles do break off. So unless it's got a complete string, you won't have a complete history of how many times that snake has shed.
So a 14 rattle snake in a button doesn't mean it's 14 years old.
Correct. It's probably much younger than that. You're certainly looking at a snake that's multiple years old, probably 2, 3 years old, easy, maybe older than that. But it would be difficult to tell with any certainty exactly how old that animal is.
And so, is there a record on how big a Eastern has been? Was there a size to that?
Yeah.
So those are going around so much with 2 Hispanic men holding this gigantic snake. I think it was a little bit of AI involved there, but go ahead.
Sure. And a lot of the photos can be difficult. You can do some things, taking pictures with forced perspective that make things in the foreground appear much larger. But these are, the largest rattlesnake in the world. 6 feet is a really big Eastern diamondback rattlesnake. Particularly for South Carolina, that is going to be a monster of a snake. Further south in their range into Florida, there are records of 7-foot animals, but those are huge. In captivity, they can get up to that size. They get really heavy-bodied, but a rattlesnake of any type that's 5 feet or better is a big and impressive and scary animal.
Right, and so the Eastern, of course, is the most venomous reptile we have in the state, correct, as far as hemotoxic?
Sure. So it's definitely got a very strong venom, and it has a lot of it. We have coral snakes, which have more of a neurotoxic venom. That's a venom that's going to work on the nerves. Those typically aren't responsible for a whole lot of bites, and they don't have a tremendous amount of venom, but it is very strong. Our timber rattlesnakes also have some of the timber rattlesnakes we have in this state in particular, in portions of the low country, have a really highly neurotoxic venom too, and those can be pretty dangerous. All of those animals, if you were to get bitten, that's going to be a bad thing, and you're going to need medical attention immediately. The fortunate thing is most of the time they don't want to bite you. As long as you're giving them a wide berth and getting out of their way, they're not going to be trying to bite anybody. And most snakes, again, 38 species of snakes total, only 6 of those are venomous. So by far and away, typically, when people come into contact with a snake, it's generally a non-venomous snake. If they do come in contact with a venomous snake, most of the time it's a copperhead, and those are our most common venomous snake, but also the one that has the least potent venom.
Right, which doesn't make you feel better because it probably hurts, but it is not as very few deaths attributed to a copperhead.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'd be exceptional.
Not going to say never, because right.
Yeah, I've learned in this business never to say always or never.
Right.
Yeah, with snakes and with venomous snakes in particular, just being aware of your surroundings, not going at night in bare feet or flip-flops, and not sticking your hands and feet in places you can't see is going to go a long way towards making sure people are safe.
So the canebrake and the timber, same snake?
Same snake.
Exact same snake, just a different color variation?
Yep. Historically, they were sort of considered subspecies of each other. Now they're considered to be the same species. It's the same snake. Generally, timbers are going to be what they get referred to as up in the upstate and up in the mountains, and canebrake is what you're going to hear more towards the coastal plain. But it is the same snake.
Both have the very distinctive black dark tail.
Black tail. They sort of have those chevron bands, and a lot of times they'll have kind of a rusty red-colored stripe down their back too. If people run into a rattlesnake, that's usually the rattlesnake that people are going to see if they see one.
May I interject a quick question here?
Sure.
So,
please, Phil.
Always have heard. Now, you're not going to like this, Will, because obviously you love snakes and you want to protect them. But for those of us who don't, like, if you cut off the snake's head or something, like if you find one and you take your hoe to him or whatever and you cut. Sure. They don't grow back, do they? Right? What's the deal with that? No. If you cut off the head?
Yeah, I mean it's going to kill that animal for sure. Yeah, the danger anytime people are getting close and interacting with these animals up close, their potential for getting bit goes up. The venom that they have, you cut off its head, that venom is still potent, and there are lots of reports of people having killed snakes that end up getting bitten by them later. They handle the body. They're holding the head, they prick themselves with a fang and get venom injected. So it's still, potentially harmful there, but they don't grow back.
If you cut a head off a snake and you go grab the snake's body, that front where that head was will come around every time. I don't know how to explain that. It's a nervous reaction.
It's probably a reflex of some.
How does it bite you if the head's been cut off?
It doesn't bite you, but it comes around.
Right. The head part can still be dangerous, and they do. You can still get pricked by the fangs. They may be able to move the head even after it's been severed. So
the mouth will open.
Again,
even when they're dead, the mouth will come open and close, open and close.
Yep.
So,
staying away from the sharp end is always important.
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, and again, not to focus on killing snakes, but I want to talk about a few misnomers. I know we're about to the end, and we may need to do this again, Phil. It's probably a show if we let people know. They probably want to call and ask all those weird questions. But, Will, we've forever and ever, people have always said that moccasins, cottonmouths, are very aggressive. They'll chase you. And the reality is they won't move.
Yeah,
and they're not really scared as much.
They tend to stand their ground, which gives them kind of a bad reputation. And they don't have rattles, of course. Sometimes they'll shake their tails to let you know where they're at and give you a bit of a warning. They'll also pop their mouths open. They have that name cottonmouth, of course, because they have a really bright white skin inside their mouth. That's also a warning. That's, hey, look at me, I'm here. Don't mess with me. Let's go our separate ways. And typically, given the chance, they will try to run away. Sometimes when they run away, they make bad choices and they kind of come towards you, trying to get somewhere else. A lot of times people mistake that as them chasing you, but most of the time they run right past you. I have not found them to be particularly aggressive. There's been some work done by some folks at SREL looking at them and their propensity to bite, and they found that copperheads were way more likely to bite you than cottonmouths. Cottonmouths, do get a bad reputation because of all these sort of defensive displays that they do as well. Again, if you don't step on them, go to mess with them, chances of getting bit are exceptionally low.
Will, thanks for joining us. I know that's about it for us, Phil. But great snake show. Thanks, Will.
Thank you, Will.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Will. Great stuff. Here. Thank you. And thank you, Major. You guys enjoy the next couple of weeks. We'll do that again. And thank you, everybody, for being with us. Cam Scott of the Gamecocks. He'll join us tomorrow night. See you then.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.